The legal prohibition of nationals engaging in gaming activities at approved enterprises was removed during a late March sitting of the National Assembly of St. Kitts and Nevis. The legislative bill sought to strengthen financial loopholes as part of the anti-money laundering legislative reforms required for domestic and international purposes. Since the introduction of the first casino operation on St. Kitts and Nevis, residents were not allowed to participate based on social, religious, and economic consideration in the 1970s. But over time, many nationals participated freely in gaming at local casinos and gaming parlors as enforcement of the law was relaxed.
Over time, we saw the conflict between the private wishes and the legislative agenda, in that some were being prohibited from participating legally in gaming here on the island, but they would go to St. Martin and they would do the same thing. And one wondered at the wisdom. How far could the state properly intervene in the actions of private citizens and residents? This bill then attempts to confront that reality, and generally I think at clause 34, if I'm not mistaken, would attempt to remove that prohibition, which would have prescribed the participation of locals. Indeed, over time, that has been more on the bill but not being enforced.
The legislation also tightened legal requirements in the operation of casinos and gaming parlors to reduce the potential for money laundering and the financing of terrorism.
The second element, Mr. Speaker, is to implement a licensing system for all forms of legalized gaming in St. Kitts and Nevis. The third element will be to update the institutional arrangements for supervising, regulating, monitoring gaming and racing operations in the Federation. Update the legislation to appropriately capture and satisfy FATF's anti-money laundering and counter-financing of terrorism financing requirements, and of course to introduce certain minimum control systems to facilitate the proper accounting records to detect fraudulent activities.
The amendments were part of the Larger Companies Amendments Bill 2021, supported and passed by parliamentarians in the National Assembly on the 25th March. Glenn Barth, SK Newsline.